What's up, everybody? Learn to fight. There's so many different ways to train martial arts, and we're going to get into those today. First things first, I'm a big believer in strength and conditioning. When you see some of the best fighters in the world throughout history, one that comes to mind is George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre came into the game, and he was always in incredible shape. He was doing backflips like a gymnast. He was just really, really strong, had the best takedowns, physically strong. Never, ever was he at the point where he was gassed out in a fight. Even in his toughest fight with Johnny Hendricks, where a lot of people thought he lost the fight, he was never gassed out, anything like that. He always came in incredible shape, and it made a huge difference in his fights. When we look throughout history, even in boxing, guys like Marvin Hagler, Marvin Hagler was a guy who came into the game extremely conditioned, crazy conditioning, and it really showed in his fights. Evander Holyfield looked like the Terminator. Evander Holyfield came in there crazy conditioned as well. So I'm a big believer in conditioning to get yourself ready to fight, or just in life in general. But if you're just in the gym hitting the bench press and it's not functional, So we can get into it today with the best ways to train for martial arts, So we'll go straight into it. Hamza Shamayv is fighting for the middleweight belt soon against Cahill, one of the fighting nerds. Let's look at how he trains. Hamza is known for having incredible, maybe not incredible conditioning, but he's extremely strong. Extremely strong. When he fought Kevin Holland, he went in there, took him down. They had a crazy scramble, and he just overpowered him. In like 30, 40 seconds, he just overpowered him. He goes in there and he overpowers the people he fights a lot, typically. And when we look at his training, he's doing a lot of explosive work, a lot of jumps, a lot of compound movements, the deadlifts, the squats. Right here, the squeeze, that's for his rear naked choke. That isolated squeeze, and just try to break him as quick as you can. But I love the deadlifts because they are a compound movement. They basically hit everything in your body with one exercise. The medicine balls are great too because it gives you that cardio feel, and it gives you that snap, explosiveness. The bands are incredible because you can do so many things with them. The resistance bands, and the way he's using them to give him that resistance on his double leg takedowns, which you're ultimately going to feel when you're taking down a good fighter. They're going to give you resistance, and you need to be able to break through that resistance and break them. So the main takeaway from his strength and conditioning program and protocol is, everything he's doing for the most part is a compound movement, and there's a lot of jumping. There's a lot of explosive type of cardio movements that are involved here. It's not just like he's doing a squat or he's just doing a bench press. He's not powerlifting. He's not powerlifting. He's doing functional movements. And when you're talking about martial arts, we're talking about fighting. This is the best way to train and to get you ready to fight. Even if you're not trying to fight, this is how you should train. Sean O'Malley and Israel Adesanya, two former champions, two strikers, two knockout artists. The way they train is very similar. It's a little different than Hamza, but it's similar. A lot of shadow boxing. I'm a big believer in shadow boxing because when you fight somebody, it feels very similar to shadow boxing. And now they're doing a lot of reaction time movements because when it comes to striking, you have to be able to react quick and time your opponent and stuff like that. You have to be able to see what's happening quickly. And ultimately, when it comes to martial arts, there's a lot of jumping, explosive movements involved. Sprints, explosive jumps, because when you kick somebody, it's like almost like jumping. The medicine ball, if you don't get anything, if you're gonna train, right, and you're trying to train on your own, all you need is a medicine ball, a punching bag, a jump rope. and a fully able body and motivation. You can get an incredible workout and you can get in really good shape. You can really, really get yourself prepared to defend yourself. So with Israel Adesanya, you know, one thing that stands out to me about him is, you know, he has incredible kicks, you know, very, very fast kicks. And when we see the training here, it's a lot of core work. When you throw kicks, when you throw a lot of kicks, you feel it in your abs. You feel it in your abs, you know? So building a very strong core, getting to the point where you're really conditioned with your shadow boxing and you have really good reaction time. This is how some of the top strikers in the world train. You know, this is how they train. There's not any powerlifting going on, you know. When it comes to fighting and martial arts, you know, a big part of it is being tough. And you get that toughness through training. Like when you're training a lot of cardio, the cardio is really hard. When you're running by yourself in the heat and you want to stop, but you push yourself and you keep going, you're trying to get a PR. This process makes you mentally tough. You can be mentally tough without being in great cardio shape, but the process of getting in really good cardio shape makes you mentally tough. So shadow boxing is something you could do on your own. Running is something you could do on your own. You can mix the two. You do 5-round shadow boxing hard and fast, as if you're fighting somebody. And then you go run hard, like 80% power, 80% speed, you know, and you push it. And this is how Israel Adesanya is training to prepare for his comeback fight. You know, he's out here with David Goggins doing a lot of cardio because in his fights, he feels that he's missed a step. I don't think he's missed a step. I think it's just that when you're the champ, everyone's watching you and everyone's analyzing you. And if you're not evolving your style quickly enough, they're going to catch up to you. And because years he was champ and everyone's watching him and breaking him down. And you have teams of people watching your style and breaking you down. You know, so I don't think it's a matter of, oh, he doesn't want it the same. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a matter of he needs to change his style up a bit and add some new wrinkles in his game. But when it comes to training, the cardio aspect is huge. It's huge. You know, in some cases, the cardio is actually more important than the technique in some cases. If you get into a fight and you're able to break the guy mentally, but he's more technically skilled than you, then that's what it is. If you get to the point where he gets to the point where he's dead tired and you're fresh and you're in there just trying to take his soul, you know, that's not a good spot to be in for the other guy. You know, that's that Rocky, Apollo Creed type of thing, you know, that explosive work. Explosive. You know, the main word when it comes to martial arts training is explosive. You got to be explosive. You see how Fiziev here, when he's throwing the kicks, he's throwing them back to back. He's throwing about 10 to 20 kicks. Just blast them through. Because whenever you actually fight somebody, you're trying to get them out of there quick. If you're slow and you can still beat people, Ben Askren isn't an explosive guy, but then it's a different style, you know. So when you're on the bag or you're throwing your punches, shot box, whatever, blast those kicks. Let's listen to the cadence he's throwing these kicks at. You know, he threw about 10 to 12 kicks there in a very short span of time, you know, and that's just cardio. That's cardio, muscle endurance, speed. That's helping him build the speed to knock people out. So when it comes to training, you know, you're hitting the bag every once in a while, add in those 10 fast kicks, pop, 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 you know, that's what I think. I think this is some of the best ways to get training and to train on your own. And of course, the skills. Right here we got John Jones. He has the punching bag being pushed at him, and he's basically intersecting it, anticipating it, and throwing just different variations of elbows. This is more so skill training. This is just skill and timing training here. So there's a balance of when you're training, going really hard, doing your strength, doing your conditioning, working on your toughness, and then there's a balance of actual skill building. So that's what he's doing here. And if you notice, he's just in his garage with his homie. You know what I'm saying? And he's just working his elbows. Just having fun, working the elbows. That's what it's about. So when you look at all the best fighters, especially the champion fighters, they all have incredible cardio. With the cardio comes toughness, and now another big component of obviously being an incredible martial artist is having the skills, and the skills you get through repetition over and over and over again. Just getting on the bag, throwing one move or two moves or three moves that you like, that you can get from all different angles, and you just repeatedly practice them over and over and over again till you just get them better, till you just get that little small detail correct. This makes a big difference, and you could do this on your own. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own. Obviously, don't get me wrong, you need to go in the gym, you need to train, you need to spar and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things you could do to make yourself better as a martial artist on your own. And I think a big part of the training is going to be on your own. So skill training, toughness training, strength and conditioning, this bag work is considered strength and conditioning. If you see Armin on the bag here, he's just throwing, he's just going. He's not even working much footwork. He's just blasting, pushing his cardio, and that is probably like 50% of fighting, honestly, maybe even 60%. Is actually just being in really, really good shape and being able to push it. And this next one is something that's very interesting to me. So a big part of martial arts is understanding range. Like when you fight, whenever you're training, you go shadow box, and when you're shadow boxing, you feel a certain, there's a feeling, it feels very similar, like as if you were fighting somebody, as where it's not a bag there. It's just you in the air, and there's a feeling, when you're fighting and you miss a punch, on somebody, if you're not used to that feeling, you're going to get tired. There's a range control. So what Yuri Prohaska is doing here, he has the blindfold on, and he's just hitting the bag, a silhouette of a human body, and he's just hitting it and moving around, and he's just kind of understanding a feeling, spatial awareness. And this is this type of stuff that I love. This is very, very cool and inspiring to me, because he's just out there in his backyard in nature training. What he's doing here is he's taking away one of his senses to increase the other senses. And when you actually get into a fight with somebody, there is moments where it's so chaotic where you can't see, and you do need to just rely on your other senses. So this is something that I really, really like. Blindfolding yourself and hitting the bag. When you're hitting the bag, you're gonna feel the bag move forward and backwards. You're gonna have to anticipate that and kind of move out the way. So whenever you put your eyes on, now you have a deeper understanding for range. You have a deeper understanding of spatial awareness and movement. This is something that I really recommend for people to try. So when you're training, conditioning, strength and conditioning, very important. Bag work, very important. Shadow boxing, very important. Skill training, understanding what you're doing. And you can do a lot of it by yourself. You know, I'm not saying that you're going to become the best that you possibly can be if you're only trained by yourself, but I'm saying you can get pretty good by yourself. You know, you just have to have direction and know what you're doing. So we're going to finish off with some words from Yuri.
Guys, it's not about like you train here, you train in the gym, you train wherever. I like to be alone, to challenge myself, to know where to find the limits and how to put it in the balance. If you don't know how to train alone, you will be just led by somebody in the gym, by the coach, by your parents, by whoever. You have to be your own leader in your life. You have to be honest to yourself, every time honest. What is my limit right now? Where is my fear right now? What I have to do or what I have to understand is just have to be you. Pure yourself.
Many people are afraid of training by themselves because they don't enjoy their own company.
And you said that. And how you want to be a strong man in before all the world if you are not strong person just like that. And enjoying your peace, enjoying your silence. Yeah. And that's it, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful stuff. And with that being said, I'm about to go get my workout in right now. But like he said, you know, when you're out there, when you're running by yourself, when you set a goal, like I'm going to run 10 miles today. I'm going to run 10 miles and you're out there on the road by yourself. There is a certain level of power that you gain, you know, when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to fighting, learning how to fight. A big part of it is just destroying your former self and becoming a new person and becoming stronger as that new person. And a lot of it is you by yourself on the road, you by yourself in the gym, you by yourself on the weights, and then you with the team, building relationships and becoming stronger, you know. But those are some of my favorite things in martial arts training, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Much love. I'll see you guys soon.